But I just want to talk to you for a couple minutes about choices. All right. How many of you have ever had a time where you've had a choice, and when you think back and you thought, man, I really wish I would have made that different? Anybody ever do that? Or am I like the only loser? Okay. Good. Maybe for you guys, it's that girl that you've liked since you were like in kindergarten. Okay? And she doesn't even know you exist. And then one day in school, she comes up to you, and you realize she knows you exist because she asked you a question. It's like, hey, did you do your algebra homework? Sorry, ladies, that was my best impression. And in your mind, you think you say the smoothest thing possible, guys. In your mind, you're like, yeah, baby, how about we go get some chocolate milk at the cafeteria? Okay, but all it came out was as, yeah. And then she walks away, and there it goes. And for the next week, you play it back in your mind, and you think, if I would have just said this, if I would have just did this move from here to here, I would have looked buffer. Okay, and so you think about these choices that you make. Recently, I have one for me, and I have a picture of it here. Can anybody see that? Okay, I'm not trying to like gross too many people out, but that is actually my leg. Okay, what I was doing is I was at a friend's house, and we were splitting wood because I like to pretend like I'm a lumberjack. Okay, and so we were splitting wood and chainsawing wood and all sorts of manly things that I am not good at. And so we load up this John Deere Gator thing, which just, to me, sounds redneck anyways. And so we load up the John Deere Gator with a chainsaw and one of these, okay, which this isn't like a regular axe. I found out this is actually like a wood splitter, okay? I didn't know that. All right, so we grab the wood splitter and the chainsaw, and in my mind I'm thinking, okay, one of us gets to use the chainsaw and one of us gets to use this. Okay, who do you think got to use this? Yeah, okay, I got to use this. I don't know why, but he let me have this, okay? And so we're out there. Now, this isn't like super light. I need someone from up here. Can you come up here for a second for me? All right, now don't like try to make me look like a big sissy, but hold that for a minute. I mean, well, on a scale of 1 to 10, how heavy would you say that is?
7.
A 7, okay. Thank you. You made me feel good about myself. Guarantee. So a 7. I mean, it's not like the heaviest thing you'll ever hold in your life, but it's not the lightest. Okay, and so we're out there, and I'm thinking we've got a tree. It had fallen down. We had to chop it up, and I'm thinking a tree about that big around. You know, it'll be fun. And no, we get out there. This tree's laying on the ground. It's like this big around. And I'm thinking, okay, maybe he'll cut it in small chunks so I can split it extremely easily. Okay, no, instead I get a tree this big around and chunks about that wide. Okay, I'm not exaggerating. When he cut the first chunk off, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like, I'm not Paul Bunyan, okay? And so I get this thing, and I am just like heaving away, you know, and the whole time he's like, well, I'm totally gonna butcher what he said, but your centrifugal force needs to be I'm like, dude, shut up. I'm just swinging this thing, okay? And so I'm getting as high as I can and coming down as high as I can. As a matter of fact, my wife really didn't even want me to bring this on stage because she thought I was going to hurt myself. And so I'm swinging like an hour goes by. And I'm like a heavy sweater anyways, so I'm like pouring sweat. And so I'm swinging, an hour goes by, and he says, do you want to trade jobs for a little while? And I'm trying to be like the man. I'm like, no, I'm good swinging this axe thing. And so I'm swinging, and he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, that's fine. So I go away and swing it again. And as soon as I said no, I was like, dang it, I should have said yes. So I swing again. About another hour goes by. And this time I've taken off my jacket. I've taken off my sweatshirt. And I'm down to my jeans and a t-shirt because I'm sweating so bad. I had to lay in the snow like on 5 different occasions just to cool off. Okay, and so finally he's like, dude, really, we can switch. I'm like, yes, thank you. I will switch this time. So I finally get the chainsaw in my hands. And I'm chainsawing. Now, it took a little while to get through the wood because there's a dull blade and yada, yada, yada. I obviously didn't know how to use it right anyways. And so I'm chainsawing. And so I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to the other side of the tree. No one told me when you let go of the trigger, like any other normal thing in life, it stops. Newsflash, chainsaws don't do that unless you put this little handbrake on. Thought it stops. So I go to walk around the tree and I'm like, oh. Don't tell me that just happened. And so, like, I didn't feel anything, okay, because it was so cold out. And so I look down and I see my jeans are, like, all split open like you can see in the picture. And I'm like, okay, maybe I just ripped my jeans. So I go like this, and it's just, like, blood. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And I was, like, more mad, and I was more afraid, like, my wife was like, you're such an idiot. And well, that was the case, because I am an idiot. And so I was like, and so we get in the gator, and it won't start. It's like, I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like bleeding out in the woods, and we're like 300 yards from the house, and I can't get help. So we finally go to the hospital, I get the stitches. But the thing of it is, if I had to make that one decision over of continuing to manually labor with that or a chainsaw, I probably would have went back to that. But the fact of the matter is, we can't always change our choices that we make. We can't always change our past. Our past is past. There's nothing you can do about it. It's already a decision. It's already water under the bridge. I kind of want to share with you for a minute about this guy in the Bible that kind of had a rough past. And I don't know every single person in this room by name, and I haven't sat down and talked hours with you, but I bet if we did, some of you would have some pretty rough pasts. Things are still haunting you today. And maybe it was decisions that you had a choice in, and you made that decision. You chose that wrong relationship. You chose that wrong substance or the wrong things to get involved in. But honestly, sometimes it's things we can't even control. Parent situations. You have no control over that. There's students all over the place that, sometimes when their parents split, they deal with it well, and honestly, sometimes it's not that easy to deal with. And it kind of messes you up a little bit. And I can guarantee every single one of you in this room, including myself, have things in our past. Well, there's this guy, his name is Jephthah, which I wouldn't recommend naming your first child that, but his name was Jephthah. And the story is found in the book of Judges, chapter 11. And it says this: Now Jephthah of Gilead was a great warrior. First off, that's like the coolest title ever. I mean, if it was me, it'd be like, and Michael, the guy who can't use a chainsaw. Okay, well, this guy's like a great warrior. I mean, how stinking awesome is that? All right, so he's this great warrior. He was the son of Gilead, but his mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also had several sons, and when these half-brothers grew up, they chased Jephthah off the land. You will not get any of our father's inheritance, they said, for you are the son of a prostitute. So Jephthah fled from his brothers and lived in the land of Tob. Soon he had a large band of rebels following him. Okay, let me kind of explain this to you. His mother was a prostitute. The Bible doesn't go around it, doesn't beat around the bush. Could you imagine being in school right now and the whole community knew your mother was a prostitute? How do you process that? How do you deal with that as a young man? Even as he grows up, he has to deal with that. And not only that, but his dad remarries a woman, and they have several sons together, his half-brothers, and they can't stand the guy. And he never did anything to them. They hate him. As a matter of fact, they drive him out of the land. That'd be like your half-brothers or half-sisters telling you to leave America. He has to leave. And the one person that should stand up for him, the one person that should say, no, I'm not going to let this happen, is his own dad. But do you see his dad doing anything about it? No. His dad never says a word about it. So you got this young man who is completely feeling alone at this time. He leaves the country, and then it says a band of rebels follow him. Now this is like the original game, okay? That's the only thing I can think to compare it to. Nobody else wants him, and so he turns this band of rebels. And they make him their leader because, remember, he is a mighty warrior. Now these band of rebels, they would do different things, okay? It wasn't necessarily gang violence, okay? But it was a little more like a Robin Hood type of feel, like rob to everybody else to give it to the poor people, or at least to take care of ourselves. So they were going around and they made a name for themselves. But the point here is Jephthah has a past. And honestly, rightfully so, he has a right to be pretty upset about this. He has a right to feel very hurt about this. And I'm not here to tell you that your upsetness or your hurtness from your past is wrong. They're legitimate feelings. There's nothing wrong with that.